GMG in the raw when Ted wants to record.
When Ted says they want to do a show, you fucking show it. When Jimmy Page says, hey, you want to jam? You grab your fucking axe, you grab your coat, you grab your dope, and you head over to the studio. You don't question shit.
Hey everybody, it's Dave here. And we have a Good Morning Gjallarhorn special for you. Guess who's back?
Who?
Pointing the wrong way, bro. Point the other way.
This is the way I'm recording this works great. Ted Glover, the man, the myth, the legend, has joined us once again to record at the end of Countdown Day to talk your Minnesota Vikings. Ted, how are you doing?
I normally would say if I was any better, I'd be against the law. Let's light this candle. I'm really not. I had gallbladder surgery, and I'm really sore. But I'm doing okay, all things considered. How are you guys?
We're good. Drew, how are you doing?
Well, I was just sitting on my ass on the couch about 10 minutes ago, and I saw on the screen Ted Smitty Glover wrote, hey, you want to do a show? And I got up, I got so excited, and my wife says, that's the same look you have in your face when the McRib comes back. What's going on? I said, Ted wants to do a show, so Ted said that we do it. I'm pretty stoked. I'm pretty happy. I don't know what even the cuts have been made today by the Vikings, but I'm glad Ted's all right from his surgery, and it's nice to have him back. All three of us sitting here talking football again. It's been a long-ass summer.
Yes.
Yeah, it has. Too long.
That's what she said.
Don't make me laugh, man.
Oh, yeah. That's the goal of the day. We can't have Ted laugh.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make it work.
So we're within a week now, right? I mean, we got football.
We got a football a week from Sunday, yes. Yes,
wow.
We do.
Let the anger begin.
Are you guys fired up, about football season starting?
Not as I normally am, but I am. Yeah, I am because you know what, Ted? Football was my first love. I mean, not to get too drawn out on it. I've been in love with football since I was 5 years old. Longer than any relationship I've ever had. It's been me and football through thick and thin. So when it gets to be about a week from, I get excited. I always will because I love the game. But it certainly has a different feel to it, yes, this year.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm starting to. I think the Vikings have a very good team, especially without they've got an Achilles heel on the offense. But besides that offense looks like it's going to be potent. And I think the defense will be better than we anticipate. And I think that's going to be a wonderful thing. And then take that after today, if we take a quick trip around two of the three teams in the NFC North Division, there was up in that team from Wisconsin, one of the receivers that Aaron Rodgers said he was sure to make the team, a veteran that had been with the team, was cut, and it was almost like if the front office was trolling, said Aaron Rodgers, which I found amusing. And then again on the amusing front, the Chicago Bears, who guaranteed Nick Foles like $21 million, has chosen Mitch Trubisky to be the Week 1 starter.
Can you imagine being a Bears fan right now?
Oh, you got to be pulling your hair out.
You could have had Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
You could have had Teddy Bridgewater, who I think is better than Foles and Trubisky. And Brady, probably not. Probably a long shot for Brady. But there were several quarterbacks out on the market this offseason that you could have gone after and pursued and gotten. and you decided, no, you know what? It's going to be Nick Foles. And then to have him lose to Mitch Trubisky.
This sounds funny, dude.
Like, come on. Are you kidding me?
And you're paying him like $21 million.
So we open up the show ripping on that team from Wisconsin and then calling the Bears out on something stupid. Two teams we haven't beat the last 4 times we played them.
Well, yeah, fair point. Yeah, Trubisky's 2-1 lifetime against us. Yeah,
don't kill my buzz.
What was that? The
hey, who was the receiver the Packers cut? Please tell me it was Davante Adams.
No, it wasn't Davante Adams.
I think it was Boyd Dowler.
Boyd Dowler.
I don't know who it was. Greg Jennings?
Kumaro?
No.
Some guy with 3
I think
names.
it's
Wasn't that Scantling? Yeah, what's that Kumaro guy? You know, if you look at their wideouts, Ted, oh, man, it's horrible, dude. Look at their depth chart.
You know, their wide receiver group outside of Davante Adams is probably worse.
Oh!
Like, I mean, you could say I'm still not sold on the Vikings' depth at wide receiver. I love Adam Thielen. I think, you know, reading what I did about Justin Jefferson in training camp, it seems like he's going to be pretty good. So there's at least hope and potential there. If you're the Packers outside of Davante Adams, you don't even really have that, I don't think, do you?
No, it's stems and seeds, as we used to say. Remember those days of stems and seeds?
No idea what you're talking about, amigo.
Right, yeah. Okay. So I guess one of the topics will be, I don't know really what Dave wanted to cover since this was kind of thrown together show, but going into that Viking game or starting the season, what are we feeling good about and what are we not feeling good about in terms of the team? I mean, I know the final cuts today. Maybe you want to go over the cuts today? I don't know. I don't want to steer the show. Sackles can steer the show. He steers everything.
Well, it's up to Ted. This is a spur of the moment Ted Glover special.
Shut up, Ted. What are we talking about?
I want to talk about the Vikings' seeming inability year after year after year to adequately address the offensive line. Because if you look at the offense, you got to like Cousins. I think Cousins is a very capable quarterback. They've got really good running back depth. You've got, you know, Cook, Madison is back, Mike Boone, Amir Abdullah made the team. They cut Tony Brooks James. A little questionable on depth of wide receiver, but you've still got Thielen, you got Jefferson, BC Johnson maybe. Dylan Mitchell's got some potential, I think. Tight ends are solid. But then you get to the offensive line. Bradbury's going to be back. I think he's going to be better. One of the most mystifying things, and fellas, I'm a guy that believes in science. I'm not into the mystical arts. But one of the things that will mystify me now until the end of time is, why did the Vikings trade for Brett Jones a couple years ago? Played him like 2 or 3 games. Didn't even activate him half the time he was on the roster. Re-signed him, and then they recut him. He's gone. The Brett Jones era is dead. Long live the Brett Jones era.
Until he gets re-signed again.
God, they've got their guards. Their guards are Dakota Dozier, Pat Elflein, and Drew Samia.
Ezra Cleveland.
Or maybe Ezra Cleveland. I don't know. Is he starting left guard? Apparently.
No, he's back up at left guard.
You draft Ezra Cleveland in the second round to be your starting left tackle of the future. You keep Riley Reif. Then you tell Riley Reif to walk the plank. 3 or 4 days ago, he's like, you know what? I want to remain a Pirate if that's okay with you guys. I'll take the pay cut. It's comical. It's freaking comical. I don't get it. I just don't get the Vikings offensive line.
I don't think they could explain it to you, Ted. I don't even think they could explain it to him if you called them and asked them on it. It's too confusing. Have they even set the offensive line, Ted? I mean, we're a week away from kickoff. Is the offensive line set yet?
I believe it's, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, you've probably been following this more than I have, but it's Reif as your left tackle. Dakota Dozier. Yeah, that's right. Dakota Dozier is your starting left guard. Bradbury.
Oh, God.
Right guard is, I believe, Pat Elflein.
Yes, in his third position. Yes.
And then Brian O'Neill, who who they were going to move to left tackle when they were telling Riley Reef to walk the plank. So I don't know. And the thing is, you look at the starters. They have really talented guys everywhere. I didn't even mention tight ends. I think Irv Smith Jr. and Kyle Rudolph are really good, going to play big parts of the offense. We talked about the wide receivers. Dalvin Cook is Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins had a great year last year, and you expect more of it this year. And it all once again, with this team, is the friggin' offensive line, man. Their inability to deal with this offensive line once and for all just mystifies me.
Same question every year.
If Dakota Dozier is your answer, what is your friggin' question that you're asking? Please tell me what the question is.
I totally missed having Ted Glover on this show, dude. I swear to God, dude. He's awesome. I'll mention something to you that I talked to Dave about when we were doing another show a few days ago, and I'll ask you the same question. Remember when the season ended terribly in San Francisco for all of us? About a week later, we have that press conference they have going out the door, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Zimmer, they was asked directly, what was the problem of the downfall of this team? And he didn't like talk his way around the question or anything. He said the offensive line isn't good enough. That's what he said. And I was pretty stoked that he was so clear and concise, and he didn't mince his words. He said the offensive line needs to get better. It's not good enough. That's what he said. So the fact that everything that you just said, the fact that it just seems like, is it better than it was last year right now?
I don't see how it can be. I mean, go ahead.
But he said it was the problem. That's what he said.
Yes.
Doesn't feel better to me.
No, that's what she said. Sorry.
So if you said it's going to be better, all I'm asking is just to follow through. If you said that was the problem, I want to see some strides on if it is better. It doesn't feel any better to me. I guess we got to wait and maybe see what happens. Of course we do, but I don't know. I don't know, Dave, really, when we talked about it, if you gave me an answer, but you agreed with me that it was probably about the same.
Oh, no. I went on a sort of mini rant about how since 2014 this line has fallen apart and they have never gotten it right, and it mystifies me why they do that. It's unbelievable. Now, do you think Dakota Dozier is going to take a step up this year? Do you think Pat Elflein, back to the position he played most of the time at the Ohio State, he'll play better at right guard? Or is it all for nothing? Are we all still going to be, screaming that they got pressure up the middle again, or that Riley Reef gets beat around the edge by speed guys?
Here's what aggravated me. You knew going into from the time leading up to the draft, once the COVID-19 pandemic hit, you knew you were going to have a really weird, funky, non-standard offseason.
Sure.
And the what's the one area of the offense that needs the most continuity and practice together is the offensive line. And when you have no OTAs, you have no mini camps, you have no preseason games to measure progress or success, I would argue that maybe you needed to settle on who your guys were going to be from early on. I mean, and what the Vikings were doing was they were moving O'Neal from right tackle to left tackle. They were dorking around with Riley Reef's contract. That only lasted a couple days. Well, but they were still doing it, and they were moving.
Well, it's because Reef wasn't there; he was out.
They were moving guys. Yeah, he wasn't there because he wasn't practicing because they told him to take a pay cut or they were going to friggin' cut him. I mean, why?
And I expected him to.
Why did they not make that move with Reef? Make that ultimatum right after the draft. And if you're going to go with Ezra Cleveland, I mean, I'm still a big. I don't know about a big Reef supporter, but I still think Riley Reef is a league average guy. But if you're going to make the move to go to Ezra Cleveland and just bite the bullet and let him learn on the job, then you do it early and you move on and you take that money that you saved with Reef and maybe find an interior offensive lineman or go back. The guy's name they had last year at right guard, and I'm on drugs and it's a
Klein.
Hey Josh, what you think about maybe coming back? I just think They botched the handling of the offensive line in every way possible from the end of the season up till now, and we have.
Doesn't that sound like
big
since
questions on the interior
2015?
With the sentence that Ted just said makes me think of that press conference again. He said that was the problem, and he was going to that they needed to make that better.
I mean, do you think Dakota Dozier is going to be better than Pat Elflein was last year?
Is Dakota Dozier in there because he's the only guy, or is the talent is the reason he's in there?
We don't know. They haven't played. They've scrimmaged. They have had no preseason games. We don't know. I mean, when he was in last year, I was not impressed with him. Maybe he made a step up in the offseason. We'll see.
We're going to find out pretty damn quick, Smitty. Find out week 1.
I saw Yannick Ngakoue going past Reef like a.
Did you see that on the highlights?
That was Rashad Hill on those highlights. He was running around.
All right.
Yeah, but it'll be the same against Reef. Reef has a hard time with speed rushers.
A lot of guys do, though.
Ngakoue is a speed rusher.
Dave wants Ezra in there, Ted, right now. Start him. Get him in there.
He can stay between the speed rusher and the quarterback. That's what I want. Now, Ezra's problem is he'll get beat on with power. But until he beefs up. But they think he's a guard.
Yeah, I mean, why are we even talking about Ezra Cleveland, future left tackle, when they played him at left guard through almost all of training camp? I don't get it.
Just guard that.
Yep.
Exactly.
And they moved O'Neal over to left guard.
We drafted Samir. We did do that already. Oh, okay, that's taken care of.
And then they moved O'Neal over to left tackle while Reef was gone those 2 days, which may tip their hand. I think O'Neal would be a great left tackle as well as a right tackle. But you drafted Ezra Cleveland as a left tackle.
What's that, Dave? What about Cleveland as left tackle?
That's what they drafted him as.
Apparently not. He hasn't played left tackle since he got to the camp.
I know. It's just, hey, that's Coach Dennison. He's the offensive line and run coordinator coach. And this is the first time, we discussed it on the previous show, this is the first time since Zimmer took over that they have the same line coach 2 years in a row.
Still looking for the offensive line that runs his own blocking scheme that can handle bigger, stronger defensive lines. Still waiting for that line to show up. Hasn't happened in NFL history.
Zimmer has proven something to me since 2014. That guy knows how to build and run a defense and keep it consistently top 10. When it comes to offense, it's like me playing bass in a studio. I'm ripping out some bass lines. Yeah, tearing it up. And then the guy comes in and says, "Here, Drew, we need you to play this fucking accordion on this song." And me going, "Hey, what do I do now?" That's almost what the offense and defense is like to Zimmer. He's been trying to delegate responsibility over there with all these coordinators and all these line coaches, and nothing's gelled and nothing's worked. But he doesn't know, so he's doing the best he can to find somebody who knows. And apparently, it just hasn't been the same on that side of the ball as it has for the defense.
The lack of continuity on the offensive line has been, I would argue, Mike Zimmer's one Achilles heel since he's been the coach. I mean, he's been a great coach. He's the franchise. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think is in a much better spot than when he took over. But man, if he can solve the great pyramid that's the offensive line, the Vikings will have something going. I'm still.
Maybe he should go find the guy who rebuilt the Colts line and hire him away, because
maybe
4 years ago they had garbage on their line, garbage, trash, and whatever other word you want to throw in there. Now it's a powerful offensive line. In a matter of a couple seasons, they fixed it.
And won. So, they did an extreme makeover, and they went from one of the worst to, I think, a top 10 unit overall. It can be done.
Getting Kelly out of Alabama and then following it up with the big kid from Notre Dame, Quentin Nelson. and then the Brandon Smith from Auburn. I mean, those are three great guys.
Like Quentin Nelson, you got to lose a lot of games before you're picking that high. Either that, or you got to twist.
He's a generational guard.
Yeah, twist Rick Spielman's arm to trade up. Use some of those 400 draft choices and trade up. Now,
and Quentin's a Randall McDaniel type of era player. You're not going to find those guards hang. I understand that, but we should be a lot further along, I think is what Ted's saying that we are now.
I mean, Spielman took over as GM as the sole player personnel GM guy in 2012.
Yes.
It's now 2020. Mm-hmm. And every year we still have these same questions about the O-line.
Spielman has two faults. One, he can't draft a wide receiver high that seems to do anything. Two, he can't put together an offensive line to save himself. And three, he misses on quarterbacks, all except for one whose knee exploded. Now, but since you've been gone so long, Ted, what do you think of the defense and the youngsters that are going to be playing this year?
I got to say, the defense is always going to be good. I think, I didn't really say that at the draft. I was very concerned about the defensive backs. I thought the defensive line would be okay with Daniil Hunter and Ifedi Adenigbo. I thought they had a really good draft. They got DJ Wanham. But that trade for, and if I butcher this name, I apologize, Yannick Ngakoue, is that how it's pronounced?
It's Unique. Ngakoue.
But I was looking at some stuff about him, and do you realize over the last 4 years, since 2016, him and Hunter have as many quarterback pressures as Khalil Mack? I mean, the Vikings have essentially two Khalil Macks lining up on their defensive line now. That should be terrifying for the rest of the NFL. And I'm kind of concerned about the interior offensive line since Michael Sharp opted out of the season. I can't blame him for doing that.
Michael
Pierce. If you got to, who did I say?
Sharp.
Whatever the guy's name is.
Michael Pierce.
The dude they signed from Baltimore.
Yes.
So I'm kind of worried about the interior line. But I like the Hunter Ngakoue combo, and I think the defensive backs are going to be they've looked by all accounts pretty good in training camp. And Drew, I think you might have hit the nail on the head about Cameron Dantzler.
Yeah, I did a draft research on him. I actually was more impressed when I looked at more tape after we drafted him. But that guy, there's something about some guys just have a natural feel, and he just looks like I think he's going to end up being our best corner in the long run. But I feel a lot better about the corners than the situation even after, Rhodes and Wayne's left. Of course, you're thinking you lose your two starting corners. It's time to get a little paranoid, bringing in a bunch of young bucks. But so I'm feeling pretty good about the corner group.
Gladney and was it Hughes and Hill that won the starting jobs? It was Hill and Hughes, right?
Hughes and Hill are your two starters. Once they go to nickel, Hughes most likely will move inside, and then you'll have Dantzler or Gladney come on the outside. Now, Gladney's also being trained on the inside in case Hughes gets hurt again. And what I like about it is that Dantzler matches up against the big wide receivers, and Gladney matches up against the little shifty ones. So we may see a rotation this year, sort of like we did last year, where they use both of those.
Well, isn't it like 70% of the snaps now? You got three corners on the field,
yes.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you got.
Yeah, you're a nickel. 70%.
You almost got to say three corners every year. You almost got to say that as a normal thing now.
And Holton Hill had a good camp, and he matches up. He's 6'2", like Dantzler. He'll match up against the big guys. And Hughes is smaller, but from when he's healthy, he shows well. He shows flashes of being absolutely outstanding. So it looks good.
I'm really interested to see Hughes this year. I think he's finally healthy. Last year he was still coming off the ACL from the year before. I was really worried about. as you guys know, I really thought the Vikings should have kept either Rhodes or Waynes, or even Mac Alexander. In retrospect, that was a good move that they didn't keep any of them. I mean, Waynes is out for the year, I guess, in Cincinnati now, tore a pec.
Right.
So I'm still worried about the lack of experience there, but it looks like just on early returns. And again, it's still so hard to say because they've played no competitive football. It's just been training camp stuff. So we'll see what happens, next Sunday. But it's encouraging if nothing else. I mean, it's at least there's signs of optimism there. Outside, unlike the O-line, I'm not going to go back and beat this horse to death, but you've got Brian O'Neill and I think Bradbury's going to be better, but there's a lot more question marks, I think, still on the offensive line than there probably is in the defensive secondary right now, and I wasn't sure that was going to be the case.
Well, for the defense,
when training camp was going to start.
For those young guns in the corner room, you have two things that are going to benefit them. One, you have the two best safeties in the league, right, or two of the top three, in Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris. They're going to back them up just like they backed up the poor play from Rhodes and Waynes last year. They're going to back them up. They're also going to mentor them. Harrison Smith is great at communication. He knows, he spots, what the offense is running, and he's going to tell those guys real quick. And then on the front end, now that you have Hunter on the left and Ngakoue on the right, and then moving Ifadi into the 3-tech position, especially on pass downs, we're going to get some pressure up the middle, which doesn't give quarterbacks a lot of time to throw, which will affect how the corners play because it makes the job easier for them. I think all around that helps them.
I'm not putting down Anthony Harris or Harrison Smith. I agree with you. They're two of the three best safeties, but and their mentor role in helping those young guys learn the defensive system is fine. But to say they can help guys out on an island, yeah, they can help guys make a tackle after they've been burned for 15 or 20 yards. I think that's been said, and I just think that's a little bit more overrated than people are saying. They still have to be able to play the game. You can't rely on Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris to help you in coverage unless you're playing like something like a 2 deep or whatever. You still have to be able to cover your man off the line of scrimmage. You have to be able to bump him off his route. You still have to be able to do the things that a Mike Zimmer cornerback has to do. And we don't know if they're going to be able to. It's encouraging. I mean, I'm not saying they won't be able to do the job. I'm not saying they will. We just don't know yet because they haven't, we haven't even seen a preseason game yet because there's no preseason.
But I thought it was funny. One of the first highlights that came out of camp this year was Cam Dantzler intercepting the star quarterback, Kirk Cousins. And
Dave can't call him just the quarterback. He's got to get that dig in there, the star quarterback.
I know.
Notice how he does that?
But it had to have pissed off Kirk because it's like, why are you showing me getting picked off?
I don't think
most quarterbacks don't care about
it. Here's my deal with the corners. I think the problems that the corners are going to have maybe on the
early
first half of the season, I think more of your problems with the corners, Ted, are going to be scheme problems, not talent, because all these guys can play their ass off. I mean, let's look back at my draft sheet. Gladney and Dantzler are both two of the top 10 guys in the entire draft corner-wise. We got talent coming in there, and I think what they can make up for in brain farts, they can make up for in talent. I'm just thinking maybe being out of position, getting burned on a play, that's going to be the bigger problem until they learn the scheme more than a talent thing. Does that make any sense? Or
yeah, very much so. And by all accounts, it's not easy to learn as a defensive back. I've read a lot from a lot of different sources that it's not easy to learn Mike Zimmer's defensive scheme as a defensive back. So there's going to be a learning curve.
And Harrison Smith, when the game starts, that guy's got a ton of responsibility. It's going to be, look, kid, take care of your own shit and don't fuck it up.
Yeah,
he's not going to be following Dantzler around, making sure he doesn't have any. Harrison Smith has a ton of other shit to worry about.
He does. Yeah, he does.
He's got to say, Cameron, guy burns your ass, he's burning you. I can't help. There's only certain things when the game starts and the ball gets snapped you can do anymore. But I imagine at practice, if everybody's smart at practice, if those corners are picking the brain of those safeties and saying, what are you
seeing when they line up like this? What are they running? That's what you want to see. You want to be able to take the reads, know your reads, and then be able to defend against it. And if the safeties help them spot those correct reads and that this is going to be a fly or a cut or whatever, or what to look for, and then they pick that up, their learning curve speeds up. And I hope that's the case. This year we didn't get to see Zimmer chew any of them out, which is unusual.
Listen, the way the schedule plays out, the fact that we're playing that Aaron Rodgers week 1, Aaron Rodgers toys with corners. He gets out of the pocket and he makes you get off your man, and then he throws that 40-yard pass and the guy's wide open. Why is he wide open? Because the corner cheated off him to get the corner. He does it to all of them. He's done it to – and Zimmer told Waynes and Rhodes they used to protect against that really well. They knew about that. So these new corners, say what you want about Rodgers, they're going to get tested early with the weird shit that he does. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that they get tested. I mean, why not? You only get better getting thrown to the fire. So
and the crowd at U.S. Bank will be going wild. So
4 people.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I'm just not fired up about the year.
Ted, who's playing that other linebacker spot besides Byron Kendricks? Who's got that?
I would think Eric Wilson. I mean, I haven't really read a whole lot about linebackers in camp. I was just looking at who they have. They got Troy Dye, Hardy Nickerson, David Reese II, and Wilson. I mean, Wilson played it a lot last year after Gideon was hurt. So I would think it's Eric Wilson. Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe there's something I missed there.
Yeah, and Benji's starting the season on a PUP, which means he's going to be on at least 6 weeks.
So Wilson at the other linebacker spot, and the defensive tackles are
Stephen and
Johnson.
Yeah, probably.
Early downs, passing downs. I see.
Dave, you mentioned
Effetti coming in at 3 tech.
That's kind of scary, guys.
Yeah, and they may even pull Stephen at that point.
Huh?
What's the name of that dude sitting out? Pierce.
Yeah, Michael Pierce.
Yeah, that hurt the Vikings. That was a good signing.
I
don't blame him. He's got severe asthma, and
I get it.
Yeah, could have been. At least it wasn't 10 or 11 guys.
Yeah, like the Patriots, but they had like 7 opt out.
But Drew, you were talking about Aaron Rodgers and the tests the Vikings are going to have to go up against. They got Aaron Rodgers week 1. Phillip Rivers in the Colts week 2, Tannehill and the Titans. Of course, they went to the AFC Championship last year, week 3.
Now,
Deshaun Watson.
Hold on, Ted.
Yeah.
I asked on the previous
show.
Hold
your horses.
I asked on the previous show, is Tannehill, was his performance last season a flash in the pan, or is he a late bloomer that has suddenly gotten good?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of his success had to do with Tennessee just giving the ball to Derrick Henry and letting him just pound people into oblivion last year.
And didn't Derrick Henry just sign an extension?
Yeah, I think he did. Mm-hmm. But that's a good question. We'll find out. I mean,
the point is, you're saying they're going to get tested, and they're going to get tested early.
Yeah. After that, they got Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan. I mean, that's a gauntlet they're going to have to run.
Is that murderer's row? Can we call it that?
And then Aaron Rodgers again in Green Bay.
Yeah, but if they get past that first part of the season into the bye and they're doing good, say they're 4-2, I think we've got it made at that point because it gets easier after that.
Oh.
Supposedly, quarterback-wise. Till we hit Tom Brady.
Can't wait till we play the Broncos. That's going to be a easy win.
For those of you that don't remember, I called that last year. And, of course, the Vikings went down the tubes early,
You were drunk,
and
though.
it
You were
took
drunk.
a huge comeback from Kirk Cousins to win that.
I can't believe I'm sitting here with two of my favorite bros doing this. This is great.
That you mean not Kirk Cousins, Dave? Don't you mean the starting quarterback?
Yes, Kirk Cousins.
When he intercepted our star quarterback.
Oh, that's right, star quarterback. My bad.
Come on, man, Dave. What about when he went 21 for 23 and Dave was ripping on him because he threw 2 incompletions?
Well, yeah, but not a single pass went over 9 yards.
Oh, don't make me laugh. Oh, you guys are killing me.
Stitches are popping. Careful.
I don't know. I guess, the main thing for me is you could kind of gauge. I think you could get a good feeling of how the team's going to be, at least by not you can't get a full picture, but you can at least get a snapshot by watching the preseason games. And I just there's so many unanswered questions for the Vikings that it's. And you're going to have that it's hard for me to kind of gauge where they are. I think they have the potential to be really good, and then you've got the whole weird dynamic with no or very few fans in the stands, and all the COVID-19 mitigation stuff they're going to be doing. It's just this season has just a weird feel for it to me.
Super Bowl, baby. Hey, if we can't get there in any other normal year, let's get there in the abnormal year.
I will say one thing I actually do applaud the NFL for is I thought by now that there would have been 2 or 3 teams with multiple COVID-19 outbreaks. Yeah. Because you saw that when college teams started coming back, you saw that with I think it was Clemson and Alabama. A few other teams had 15, 20 players or personnel. I don't know if they were all players or more that were infected with COVID. And other than that one false positive story where,
right. 77 people in the league.
Yeah, they all turned out to be false positives. I think I saw a thing this morning. There's been less than 5, I think, total positive COVID-19 cases.
And there's only one. And as of last Wednesday, there was only one person across the entire NFL that was still on COVID IR. And that includes support staff, the clubs. You're looking over 200 to 250 personnel per club, and there was only one.
So where I thought the NFL was maybe going to get to play a week or two, and then all absolute chaos was going to break out with teams getting infected and not being able to play or field a roster, I don't feel nearly that concerned about it as I did a month ago. I think it's very encouraging that it looks like, at least if they keep these procedures and processes in place, whatever it is that they're doing, that there's a good chance we're going to get a full NFL season in. So Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren, take note and play football this year.
How come we're not watching college football right? Hey, turn on college football!
Wasn't there games on today? Other leagues they were playing?
Yeah, Marshall was playing.
You know what? If the Big Ten ain't playing, nobody's playing, man.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, but I digress on that. But I bottom line is I think it looks a lot better for the NFL to be able to pull this thing off when I was more than 50% sure that they weren't going to be able to play a full season and it was going to be a lot of chaos and
you get 8 or 10 guys every week going out on COVID. Yeah. Revolving door. You got, a bunch of washed out guy third stringers playing. That's kind of what I was thinking a month ago, but I feel I'm kind of in agreement. I feel a little bit more confident about it going into the football in a week.
Well, Ted, are you getting excited about this season?
No, I'm not. Still not. For all the reasons I just kind of talked about. Maybe when the games start. I mean, there's a game Thursday. I'll check it out probably.
He's watching.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just normally I'm fired up by this time of year because there's the NFL milestones. You got free agency and then the draft, and then you've got your first look with the mini camp and the OTAs, and then camp starts and you then you get a preseason game or two, and there's just been none of that. So I have the stuff I usually do to get mentally kind of fired up for the season those milestones or markers haven't been there for me. Maybe it'll be there when next Sunday rolls around. But
when our star quarterback's tearing up the team from Wisconsin's defense.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, man.
And he doesn't throw those 2 incompletions.
At U.S. Bank Stadium, which should be interesting to watch a game with empty seats.
Are they going to pipe noise in? I read a story that they were talking about doing that. Are they going to let them do that?
Yes, but the question is at what decibel level? Because they said it's real low, and that we'll be able to hear the coaches calling plays. It's that low type deal.
They should be punching in freaking Motorhead at 500 or
at 100 zombie 110 decibels. Yes, but
little Iron Maiden. Run to the
house. Can you imagine that? In God's way with the fumble return with the trooper in the background.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Better.
I'm sold.
That would just be weird, man. I mean, it's it's weird for us. Imagine how that's going to be for the players. I mean, I don't care what anybody says, but you can feed off crowd emotion, and that can get you pumped up, and it can be a momentum changer. We were talking about the Denver game earlier, and how the crowd started getting. You guys remember how as the Vikings started, you had that big play, that big touchdown to Diggs,
right?
Sort of sparked things, and the crowd sort of started getting into it. It'll be interesting to see if you get down by 10 or 14 points, and then you make what looks to be a big play, but there's no crowd reaction. Does that momentum translate? Does it carry over? It's going to be one of the interesting things to see for the NFL this year. I don't know.
That's where hockey has really hit it out of the park. If you watch some of these games, when there's a scrum around the net or an actual goal, the crowd noise, who's ever running that crowd noise, is running it to the action that's on the ice.
They are, yeah. They are. That's
really
cool.
Well. It's really cool how they do it. I mean, it makes it almost like, if there was, the only thing that takes you away is you see that you can see there's no crowd. So visually, but if you couldn't see where the crowd was sitting, you would think the crowd was there.
And I like how the NHL has done it with the seats, where they just covered them up and used them as advertising or whatever. I think those cutouts in baseball are kind of dumb. I don't like them.
But well, in Denver, I live in Denver, as you know, as viewers know. The Broncos are selling season ticket holders the right to buy a cutout of themselves to put in the seats.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
People are paying money for that too?
People are paying money to have their picture taken, made into a cutout, and stuck in the seats.
Wow.
Big old cutout of John Elway with his grill.
Yeah. Anyways,
it's gonna be interesting, boys.
It is.
Let's wrap this up.
I'm just glad Ted's back. And fire up that Ted's back on this show.
Thanks for scratching my itch, boys. This is a lot of fun.
It is. We miss it.
On.
We miss it terribly.
Yeah! Ted Glover! Woo!
Last words, Drew.
I'm out, Viking cow. Oh, that felt really good.
Ted.
Let's light this candle.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this GMG special. Have a great week. Let's get ready for Hate Week. We've got a game coming up. Skol, baby!
Later, guys.
Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.